welcome to our sewing channel. It's Shelly from Gus Steel, and today we're going to do a sew along with our Joey hoodie, which is a very beginner friendly hoodie. You can do it with just a sewing machine and a zigzag stitch, or for a more professional finish, you can use your serger. It has a giant kangaroo pocket that is sewn together at the seams, both at the side and the top, so it's super easy for placement. So let's get sewing.
You can use fleece or French terry or any jersey fabric for the bodice, hood, and cuffs. But for the pocket bands, you'll want to use a stretchy ribbing fabric.
For the Joey hoodie, you will want one upper front bodice piece, one lower front bodice piece, one kangaroo pocket, and 2 bands for the kangaroo pocket. You will also want 2 long sleeves and 2 cuffs. And for the hood, you will want 2 pieces cut opposite, 1 middle hood band, and 1 front hood band. And lastly, you will want 1 full back bodice piece and 1 bottom band for the entire bodice. Next, take 1 hood panel piece and the middle hood panel strip right sides together and sew along the edge.
Here I have my hood panel and my middle hood panel piece right sides together, and I'm going to sew with a serger, but you could absolutely do this entire hoodie with a zigzag stitch. So I'm taking my time to just make sure I follow the curve and capture both layers. Now you're going to want to repeat the process and take the second hood panel and attach it right sides together to the middle hood panel and sew along the edge. Now your hood should look like this with both hood panels attached to the middle hood panel piece. Next, we're going to attach our front hood band to the hood. We're going to stretch it slightly as we attach it to the length of the front of the hood because the band is cut slightly shorter than the length of the hood. Here we have our front band folded in half with wrong sides together, and we have it stretched slightly across the front of our hood, and we're going to sew along that edge. Since our front hood band is folded in half here, we're going to be capturing 3 layers. So we want to make sure that we're stretching the front hood band slightly and capturing all 3 layers as we sew. Now your hood should be completely assembled and look something like this. Next, we're going to attach our bands to the kangaroo pocket. Our bands are folded in half with wrong sides together and attached to the pocket opening. So now we're going to sew the bands with the wrong sides together again along the opening of our kangaroo pocket, making sure to stretch slightly as we sew them on. Our bands are made of ribbing, so they have a lot more stretch than any of the other pieces in this hoodie. And you're going to want to repeat the same process for the other side of the kangaroo pocket. So your kangaroo pocket should look like this, and if you want to, you can add a cover stitch detail here. Next, we're going to add a basting stitch along the top line of our kangaroo pocket to our lower bodice. Now you're going to want to take the upper front bodice and lay it right sides together with the lower bodice and sew along the edge. And we added the basting stitch on that kangaroo pocket to make sure when we're sewing the lower and upper bodice along the edge that we capture the kangaroo pocket and there's no shifting. Now your front bodice should look like this with the lower and front bodice attached and the kangaroo pocket attached in that same seam. Now we want to lay the front bodice on top of the back bodice right sides together and sew the shoulder seams. So here I am sewing the shoulder seams together.
Next, you're going to want to attach your arm sleeve to the arm opening of your hoodie, and you're going to want to repeat this on both sides.
As you're attaching the sleeve to the armhole opening, you're going to want to make sure you follow the curve and do not stretch either pieces, as the sleeve should walk along the seam of the armhole opening exactly. And repeat the same process for the second sleeve. Now we want to close our side seam and our arm by sewing along the edge. As you're closing the seams on your sleeves and the side seam, you're just going to want to take your time making sure to capture both layers, and especially take your time around the armpit of the sleeve to make sure you get a nice straight line. And repeat the same process for the other side. Next, we're going to attach our hood to the neck opening of our bodice. We're going to insert our hood piece with the right side out through the neck hole of the bodice. And you want to have your right side out because you want your right side of the hood to be facing the right side of your bodice. And here you're going to want to match up your middle notch to the middle back panel piece of your hood. And we're going to clip that, and then we're going to follow along the edge of our hood, capturing all the curves, and clip as we go. So here we just want to make sure that the bottom panel pieces on our front bodice are overlapping. Now our hood is completely attached, and we're going to sew this in the round. If you want to add a tag to your hoodie, now is the perfect time. So I'm attaching the tag at the back of the bodice and hood piece. So we're going to sew along the edge, making sure to capture all two of the pieces here, and we're just really taking our time. As we're approaching the front of the hood, I'm really starting to take my time here because we have 5 layers to go through when we get to the overlap of the hood piece here. So I'm lifting the lever to just sort of nudge that front piece through so it slides through the serger evenly, and then I'm pulling from the back just lightly as we have the 5 layers to go through, and it's pretty thick here. Now your hoodie should look something like this with the hood attached to the bodice and the sleeves attached. Next, we want to close the seams on our sleeve cuffs and our waistband. After you've closed the seams on your sleeve cuffs and your waistband, you're going to want to fold them together with wrong sides together. Now that you have your cuffs folded in half with wrong sides together, you're going to want to insert that cuff into the sleeve of your hoodie with right sides together and clip along the edge. So here you're going to have 3 layers that you will sew. So as you're sewing your cuffs in the round, you're just going to want to be extra careful as it's a pretty small opening for a kid's hoodie, and you're going to be capturing 3 layers as you sew along. Now repeat that same process for the second sleeve. Now your hoodie should look like this, and the last piece we have to install is the waistband. So you're going to insert your waistband in the same manner you did the cuffs with right sides together and sew along the edge. As you're attaching your waistband to the bodice, you want to remember to slightly stretch your waistband as you attach it to the bodice pieces.